Hey there, class. Mr. Pusky here. Hope you're having a good day so far. We're continuing with Chapter 5 with 5.6, Day 1. The name of this lesson is Quadratic Formula. Our essential questions are be able to write the quadratic formula with or without singing it. We're going to sing today. Be able to use the quadratic formula to solve quadratic equations, and be able to simplify the answers to quadratic equations. All right, so the singing is kind of important. I have students who... either graduated or I remember when I was in school, even if I didn't become a math teacher, I would still be able to remember the quadratic formula because I sang it. Maybe you sang it in Algebra 1, but we did cover it in Algebra 1. So the solutions to the quadratic equation ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 are actually this equation right here. Okay, so it's x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That's kind of a lot to remember just from in terms of a formula. So we have a song that I like to sing that goes to the tune of Pop Goes the Weasel. Round and round the mulberry bush, the monkey chased the weasel, that whole thing. And then go, pop goes the weasel. So it's kind of that song, but I'm going to kind of sing it a couple times, and it's going to be helpful to remember how to do the quadratic formula with the formula, okay? So I know it's kind of, it seems like it's childish or that it's kind of annoying, but I promise you that you'll remember the quadratic formula if you sing it this way. And every time I do it, I'm going to sing it, so just get used to that. So this is how we sing the quadratic formula. Ready? 1, 2, 3. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, so that's how we sing the quadratic formula. We're going to go 2 more times. Ready? 1, 2, 3. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, you try to sing it with me this time. See if you can do it with me this time, and I promise that it will be very helpful for you, all right? All right, last time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And I know I have really bad singing in general, but I apologize for that. But so basically, this is a pretty simple formula. All we need to do is figure out what our a, b, and c is in an equation, and then we need to go ahead and plug it into the formula. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have number 1. Is 3x squared plus 8x minus 35 equals 0. So we need to figure out a, b, and c. So a is what's in front of the x squared, b is what's in front of x, and c is the constant. So what's our a? What's in front of the x squared? Well, you can see it's going to be a 3, right? 3 is in front of the x squared. What's our b? What's in front of x? Well, we have an 8. 8 is in front of the x. And what's our constant, the number all by itself? Well, we have negative 35. Okay, and we're going to plug into the formula. I'm going to write the formula each time to get used to the habit. It's x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. I think my singing is getting worse, actually, so I apologize for that. So literally, we're going to take these numbers over here. We're going to plug them into this formula. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have x equals negative b, or the opposite of b is another way to think about it. Opposite of 8 is negative 8, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is 8 squared, minus 4, times a, which is 3, times c, which is negative 35. And it's all over 2 times a, and a is 3. I was going to say something, and I think I forgot it. It'll come back to me. So what are we doing for this? What is this going to solve? What does the quadratic formula solve? It finds the roots. It finds where this parabola crosses the x-axis, which is the solutions to a parabola, okay? So basically when x equals 0, or when the y value equals 0, we can solve by using the quadratic formula and figuring out what the roots are going to be, okay? So let's simplify this now. We have x equals, negative 8 is going to come along for the ride. We have plus or minus the square root of 8 squared is 64. And then negative 4 times 3 times negative 35 is positive 420. Oops. Positive 420. All over 2 times 3 is 6. All right, simplify that some more. X equals -8 plus or minus the square root of 64 plus 420 is 484. All over 6. The square root of 484 is 22. So we have x equals -8 plus or minus the square root, sorry, not square root anymore, of plus or minus 22 all over 6. We got room, good. So now we're going to split this. We're going to write x equals -8 plus 22 divided by 6. And over here we're going to do x equals -8 minus 22 divided by 6. So we have x equals, and the -8 plus 22 is 14 over 6. And 14 divided by 6, we can reduce that by dividing top and bottom by 2, which is going to be 7/3. We're going to put or here, and then we do -8 minus 22 is -30 divided by 6, and x is going to equal -5. And that's our answer. These are where the parabola crosses the x-axis. Those are our solutions. Okay. All right. There's number 1. We'll switch up our color and try the next one. All right, we have 2m squared equals 2m minus 3. So to use the quadratic formula, it always needs to be equal to 0. Is this equal to 0 right now? It is not. So I'm going to move 2m and -3 to the left-hand side by subtracting 2m and adding 3. So we're going to get 2m squared minus 2m plus 3 equals 0. Okay, let's figure out our a, b, and c now. Well, our a is in front of the m squared, which is 2. B is in front of the m, which is -2. And c is a number by itself, which is 3. So we're going to plug into the quadratic formula. See if you can sing it with me. X equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, we're going to plug into the formula again, so let's do it. So opposite of b, b is -2, so the opposite of -2 is going to be +2. Plus or minus the square root of -2 is b, so -2 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 2, and b, which is 3. All over 2 times a, and a is going to be 2. Double check my work here. Looks like it's good. X equals 2 plus or minus the square root of -2 squared is 4. -4 times 2 times 3 is -24. All over 2 times 2, which is 4. So x is going to be equal to 2 plus or minus the square root of -20 divided by 4. Now we're going to take square root of -20. We're going to simplify it over here because we need to. So it's going to be... So square root of -20, remember we take any square root of a negative number, we split it into square root of 20 and square root of -1. And then what's a perfect square that goes into 20, that multiplies into 20? Well, hopefully you said 4. Square root of 4 times 5 is 20, and 4 is a perfect square, which is what we want. And then square root of -1 is what number, or what variable? It is I. So this is going to equal, square root of 4 is 2, square root of 5, and then we have I. So now our new answer is going to be x equals 2 plus or minus 2 square root of 5i all over 4. Now, this one's a little tricky. We can actually factor out a 2. So what we need to do for this is we're going to split it up. We're going to write x equals, we have 4 as a common denominator. So we're going to write 2 over 4 plus or minus 2 square root of 5i over 4. Now I can reduce this. Well, whatever goes into 2 and 4 nicely. Well, 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 4 twice. Same thing here, 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 4 twice. So we're going to get x equals 1/2 plus or minus square root of 5i over 2. Now we can write our final answer as x equals 1/2 plus square root of 5i over 2, and x equals 1/2 minus square root of 5i over 2. And this is our answer. Okay, so a little tricky. You always want to see if you can simplify and reduce fractions. So if you have a common denominator, we can see that 2 and 4 both have numbers that go into them, which is 2, so we can simplify it a little bit. But that's a minor thing. That would not be a big deal if you didn't do that in your homework, but try to make sure you simplify as far as possible. All right, we have 2 more. Why don't you see if you can try numbers 3 and 4, see if you can give them a try, and just be aware you're going to get a little strange result for number 3, and number 4 is going to be, you're going to get a square root under the radical too. So see if you can do them, and then check your work after we're done. All right, welcome back. Let's get into this. So we have 2x squared minus 12x plus 18 equals 0. We always want to check if the equation is equal to 0. Is it equal to 0 right now? It is. So now we can pick out our a, b, and c. What's our a, b, and c? Well, a is in front of x squared, which is 2. B is in front of x, which is negative 12. C is a number by itself, which is 18. So we're going to plug into the formula. Say it with me. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root. Oops, I goofed up. B squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So let's plug it in. X equals opposite of b is opposite of negative 12 is positive 12. Plus or minus, let's write that a little bit better. Square root of b squared, which is negative 12 squared. Minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is 18. All over 2 times a, which is 2. Oops. Okay, let's simplify this a little bit more under the radical. So we got 12 plus or minus square root of negative 12. Negative 12 squared is 144, and negative 4 times 2 times 18 is minus 144. All over 2 times 2, which is 4. All right, this one's a little weird here. This one's a little tricky, but we have 12 plus or minus, what's 144 minus 144? Well, that's 0 divided by 4. And x is going to equal, square root of 0 is what? Well, it's 12 plus or minus, square root of 0 is just 0, and then 12 plus or minus 0, we have that. So now our final answers are going to be, we got, oops, let's write x. X equals 12 plus 0 over 4, which equals 12 over 4, which equals 3. And x equals 12 minus 0. Well, adding 0 and subtracting 0 are going to be the same thing. It's going to be 12 divided by 4, which equals 3. So this, in this case, x equals 3 is our answer. This would be where the parabola is right, the vertex is right on the x-axis. So there's actually, it doesn't cross the x-axis twice. It's like a graph like this, and the parabola touches just like that. It touches just right here, and it has one solution. It's like a double root, basically. It's what they call it. It's one solution because it crosses the vertex. It touches the vertex, or sorry, the vertex touches the x-axis at one point. So there's only one answer for this one. So if you have a square root under the radical, like this, a square root of 0 under the radical, that is, you're going to get a solution that's going to be one solution, basically. Okay? All right, last example. We got x squared equals x minus 5. Let's do green. First things first, is this equal to 0 right now? It is not, so we need to subtract x from both sides and add 5 to both sides. So we're going to get x squared minus x plus 5 equals 0. Now it is equal to 0. So what's our a, b, and c? This one's a little tricky. What's our a, b, and c? Well, a, what's in front of the x squared? Well, there's actually a 1 here. There's a 1 there. It's going to be a equals 1. In front of the negative x is a negative 1. And then our c is going to be 5. So if you have just x or x squared or just x, it's going to be a 1 there, okay? So now we're going to plug in. We have x equals, let's plug in the formula. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Let's plug it in now. X equals opposite of b. B is negative 1, so opposite of negative 1 is positive 1. Plus or minus the square root of b squared is negative 1 squared. Minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 5. All over 2 times a, which is 1. X equals 1 plus or minus square root of negative 1 squared is 1. Negative 4 times 1 times 5 is negative 20, all over 2. And we can simplify this a little bit more. So x equals 1 plus or minus 1 minus 20. 1 minus 20 is negative 19, all over 2. And square root of negative 19, we can simplify that a little bit. We can write a square root of 19 and square root of negative 1, which is square root of 19i. So we're going to get x equals 1 plus or minus square root of 19i over 2. And that's our final answer. We can't simplify that anymore if we split it up or anything. Okay, that is quadratic formula. Hopefully that was a nice review from Algebra 1. But make sure you ask some questions in class, come to office hours, and get some help if you need it. And thanks for watching, and have a great day.